Hey, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of Les Audiophiles. These are the festive treatlets that we are depositing in your virtual YouTube stocking. Looking back over the last almost year of the Audiophiles and our top picks. And now it is the turn for me and Andy to discuss songs which he has volleyed up. Yeah, so I will say this. Over the past nearly year, we started this channel together. We'd done stuff before on Into the Music, and we developed a sort of working relationship through that. And then decided to sort of go off into the yonder. But I have to honestly say that this past year has made me realize what a generous, warm-hearted, and considerate human being I am. And Andy's just an annoying shit. There you go.
That's our
No, it's
dynamic.
been what this channel has done. Not only is just whack at the music and all this like voyage of discovery, but it's also developed a friendship between us two, a genuine one, and we've really spent a lot of time together actually, doing all this shtick and talking about our lives as well off camera, and Andy's upcoming court cases and things like that. So
It's always something.
but yeah, and that's been as much of a pleasure as listening to the songs. So appreciate you, man.
Back at you,
Really
my
had
friend.
a lot of fun. He says drinking his Yorkshire tea. Welcome to Yorkshire, you bastard. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. So I've chosen my top three picks of songs which Andy has given to me, and Andy likewise will also go through his favourites of all the stuff that he's foisted on me, and so we'll go through in turn. So I'll kick things off. Number three on my list. Oh, before I do have some honourable mentions, like we have done in the previous two episodes. So these are songs which could easily have made the list, and there's a number, but I've again like the top three, I've narrowed it down to three honourable mentions. Number one on this honourable mentions is The Noose by A Perfect Circle. I have heard Tool before, and I honestly can say I'm not keen. As Austin Powers will say, it's not my bag, baby. But I have developed a huge respect for Mr. Maynard and his workings, particularly this band. And it's, all the stuff he does is of interest, always. Whether it's absolutely blow you away musically or not, you can't help but listen to it. And it's all, everyone you've given me has hit me in some way. And this is another great track. And I could pick a number of his. Secondly, Broken Bells, Ghost Inside. Now, this band, and obviously it's got some stellar members, the Shins and Mr. Danger Mouse, and they do look like a bunch of geography teachers who are jamming during lunch break. Yes. But they've come up with some awesome tunes, and I think the narrative of this one is just superb. And it was a KEPX or whatever you call it, KEXP or one of those.
You'll get there
as well. And again, just stunning as always. And it's just, it's always a joy to see when you have mostly you, but when either of us pick one of those. Third on the list, surprised me how much high up this went, but for various reasons, which I'll get into later on in my picks. Lovejoy, Portrait of a Blank Slate. Really enjoyed this, and I'll go into it a bit more when I talk about another song. So there you go. Okay. Anyway,
good choices.
Finally, number three on my list. again, this is a surprising one for me, and it could be another song, not even of those three, any other day. Just on this day when I did the list, it's Cracker with Low.
Don't you wanna go down like some chunky cosmonaut? A million miles below their feet. A million miles, a million miles. I'll be with you, girl, like being low. Hey, 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 like being stoned. I'll be with you, girl, like being low. Hey, 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 like being stoned.
Yeah, that was great as well. Ah, this sounds so 90s. I know it is 90s because I kind of know a bit about that. So, but it does sound it and the way the song's constructed. But that little break there, I can't remember where it began. Let's just listen to a little bit of that again because I really liked it. I would say that this song surprised me the most of a song from a band that I knew. The assumptions I had of this, country tinged Camper Van Baten offshoot, and I was very familiar with White Riot cover and some other stuff they did. But all those assumptions were sort of blown asunder by this track. There's nothing groundbreaking, but the swirling guitars and their acoustic accoutrement hit a 90s sweet spot that mainlined straight into my musical psyche, and just basically an instant classic from 20 seconds in. Loved it.
Yeah, I remember this experience of doing this video with you, and when you came back from the listening going, the guitars, the guitars, the guitars. And what's funny to me is I've always heard it as the song, the song, the song. And I bet you when I was young and heard it, it was the guitars that stuck out to me. But having listened to it so many goddamn times for so long, that now I just appreciate it for being a really good song. And I think what you're sort of like that too. Like once you've known a song as well as you know it, it's just like that's what you love about it. It is that song. And that's how I approached this one. So it was a reminder of what an individual's experience can be with a tune when they hear it for the first time and what they'll latch onto or what grabs them. So that made me smile a lot when you were like the guitars. It also made me go back, listen to it, and appreciate the shit out of the guitars that I thought I already appreciated. But you were right. You underscored all this stuff that I had forgot that I gave a shit about because all I cared about was the song as a whole. And that was a lot of fun. And I think that is the sort of one of the joys of doing this kind of stuff together is you see things in a new or different light, or a light that you forgot about you used to utilize when you looked at the thing. So this was this experience of sharing this one with you was a lot of fun. There's the slightest bit of trepidation when I select a song from the 90s for you, because you were a more fully developed music listener in the 90s than I was, and I'm just giving you the stuff that was at the genesis point of finding my own independent taste in music. And for it to still resonate with you all this time later is I take that as a badge of honor, to be completely honest with you, because I do respect the shit out of your musical taste. And I like to think that I have a really good musical taste too, or at least one that's broad enough and open-minded enough to allow good stuff in. And when we Venn diagram on shit like this, it just makes my soul smile because I love music and I like sharing it with people. And this was I remember thinking, oh man, you've done good for picking a 90s tune because John has heard some great 90s shit. You know what I mean? So it's hard to come to the table and try to impress a guy who was fully formed during that decade while I was only coming into my own in that decade. So really cool. And I'm glad, super glad that you liked that one. And I guess
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, this took me back to full 90s mode.
Yeah.
And one of the things which has really crystallized during doing this reaction, both this year and on Into the Music as well, is I do love lots of different music, and sometimes I will surprise you with some of my choices. I think I have quite a fairly decent range of tastes, but it has cemented in my mind that my two favorite periods of music, more than any other, and there's plenty, is that post-punk period, 78 to 81, 82, is just a British, is sweet. And 90s, early 90s, fucking loud guitar music in general, and it could be anything, indie, grunge, post-grunge, whatever. That is two of my favorite periods of music, and it's just confirmed my bias to me, basically. This took me right back, and that's why it was guitars, because that's how I felt back then.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I could take you there. And I'm glad this one met the standard. To me, what is a high standard? So I'll jump into my third, but before I do that, I'm going to touch on some honorable mentions for me. And I also just want to say that, like, getting you to listen to anything that I bring to the table is going to be something that I enjoy. So, and on top of that, I haven't ranked these by like how much the song means to me. It's what joy I got out of watching you and edit you and this video of this all the experience of like you listening to any of these songs for the first time. So if they're 3 through 1 doesn't mean they're even, 13 through 11 or whatever for in just my overall hierarchy of how good of a song they are. These are just my 3 favorite that you reacted to. So I just want to make that clear that there are songs I've offered up to you that I'm far more even familiar with or love more, but it was these reactions for whatever reason that stood out to me. But these are my outside looking ins. These are my 3 OLIs. And we have At the Drive-In with One Armed Scissor. And I think that it was fun for me to throw a song from my angsty youth and, with all the energy that I had at the time this song came out and fervor and wanting to do and be things and change things. And for you to hear this song and not be like, this is for someone 13 years younger than me or whatever, for you to be like, nope, I had songs just like this shit, that I listened to when I was at that age. I can understand that. I was like, oh, this is a cool fucking dude that he can listen to this song and not be like closed off and like, cause it's an in your face song. One of the heavier, faster songs I've offered up, and you like welcomed it in spite of it maybe having jagged edges. And I was like, that's fucking cool. And it's just an awesome song in my opinion as well. Another one was the sort of roller coaster ride you went on with Incubus Summer Romance, the anti-gravity love song, which is like, you had all this, like, not as, I don't mean this in like, the incendiary version of this word, but you had a prejudice coming into this, with Incubus. And then you heard this and you were like, oh no, this is nothing of what I thought. This is like jazz, funk, fusion, acid stuff. Like, and you really, really enjoyed it. And you like all these different, and then when that saxophone hit, you were like, what have we got here? A bloody saxophone solo? So when you listen to that, I really enjoyed your experience with that. And then this is where I had to like cut this one out of my list because it made yours. And in a way, your picks for this list is more important than my picks for this list. And that's Oh Brother Burn. Oh Brother is like, they're not a super popular band, but they definitely have a niche little cult following. And I am definitely a part of that. And for you to listen to this and all the other Oh Brother songs that we've done, whether it was on Into the Music or on our channel, you've always been super receptive to, and they've always hit with you in the way that I was like praying and hoping that they would. And you look past the fuzz and some of the noise, and you saw all the real delicate intricacies behind all of that. And that's sometimes hard to do at face value or first listen, because all you hear is like the fuzz and the distortion, and it's hard to dig through that. But you do it every single time with like a surgeon's scalpel. And so I love giving you Oh Brother for that. And then when you said you went off and downloaded one of their albums, I was like, that's peak. Like, I feel great about that, having offered it up to you, and you digging it. But my number 3 would be the artist Joe P and his song Color TV, and your experience with that. Another live performance. And it was a lot like I've had with songs that you've offered up in the past, even Mid-Lake Roscoe, where like at the beginning of it, you were like, I like this is all right. And then you kept saying, each pause is like, this continues to grow on me. This is continuing to grow on me. And then you drew in comparisons to Radiohead. And I know how you feel about Radiohead. So like whenever you compare anything I give you to Radiohead, I kind of take that as like a notch in the belt as well. Like, oh my God, he's comparing it to a band that like we both have like undying reverence for. So let's take a look at some of John's reaction to Color TV by Joe P.
I say what I mean to the back of my teeth.
Really nice sound of the guitar. It's a lovely, lovely tone to it. I like this sort of intro, the chiming with the pounding the drums as well. That's quite cool. Let's see where it goes.
Of the black and white scenes on a color TV, in the film you won't see. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. So I try to forget.
See, this is growing on me quite a bit. And his vocals, it doesn't sound the same, but it's like he's trying to sing in the style of Tom York, even with the but it still sounds great. Yeah, this is really growing on me actually.
So yeah, like you in that you see your understanding or your affinity grow and blossom by the time the song ends, and then you kind of just say, yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I was going to. And just the vibrato in his voice and the stuff he does on the guitar and the live performance aspect of it, I just really, really enjoyed watching you watch that.
Yes, I remember this. I thought it was really brave for Joe P being in witness protection to come out and do this performance. Yeah, the Tom York vibes I got from him were really interesting.
And you even look past his yellow framed or his yellow lens glasses.
Momentarily, but it still bites when I think about it. It's not good. Yeah, and his post-apocalyptic stalker vibes, which you completely shot down, but I maintain. Yeah, it was a great 3-piece performance, and I have to say, which is quite rare in a 3-piece, but the bass almost passed me by completely because the guitars were great and the drummer was so good as well. Bass probably did a great job, but I didn't notice. I'm really sorry, Mr. Bassman. But yeah, this is a really good song.
Awesome. So, your number 2?
Yes, my number 2. All right. So this It was an odd little number. Human Tetris. Things I don't need.
You never talked to me, only when we drove outside this town. And I'm so fed up with being old, don't try to hold me now.
Okay, I have to say, I'm really liking the bass. I'm really liking the vocals. I'm loving the drums. He's not doing anything crazy, but he's just doing this variation, like hitting the rims or riding the hi-hat. And then it's funny. I've got used to it's not so funny now, but that drum roll the first time sounded hilarious, but it's really good. And then all of this actually creates a platform for that guitar tone, which I don't mind it, but I'm not really oversold on it, and some of the other songs about this. But this is the perfect framework. It sounds wonderful. This is really good stuff. Double time. I could have done a couple more minutes of that. I really enjoyed it. It would be so easy to dismiss this as a pastiche with the instantly recognizable influences on full display, but in particular, Interpol and Joy Division. And I was a bit at first, I was like, oh, okay, well, I know where this has come from. But within a very, very short space of time, I found myself captivated by a slight twist on something so familiar. The way the guitar, that tone of guitar, which I'd heard in other songs you'd done, but the way it fitted in here and just made everything it made sense was amazing. The sliding parts, the way they sort of changed it all the way through, that developed and drove the song. And even the Fisher Price drum kit that initially made me chuckle so much, by the end, for me, was the star of the show. So this shows what the hell I know. It's on a playlist of mine, and I regularly listen to it. And I just think that it's something so cool to hear from Mother Russia. It's very easy to demonize a state. We've got to remember that the people in charge are just a tiny little bit of the people out there living their own lives, making music, and they've got the same dreams and whatever as some poor sucker in fucking Gaza Strip or whatever, or in Ukraine. People are people, really. So they get isolated. On a lot of our episodes, if they're blocked for rights issues, are the first place they're blocked is Russia and Belarus, and so we probably don't get very many views in Russia, which is a shame, but there you go. So it was really cool to hear something from there, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. Obviously, I enjoyed the source of where this came from. But yeah, this was great. And I had a very similar experience, which I will say, with Portrait of a Blank Slate, which almost made the list, as I referred to earlier. The similarities, or the sort of, I was like, oh, this is so much a Franz Ferdinand song. It's incredible. It's like a lost song of theirs. But by the end of it, they'd made it their own as well. But I really enjoyed where it came from and then what they did with it. And this even more so with Human Tetris. Again, another terrible band name. But, that aside, great.
I was going to say, Human Tetris, the song you loved, the name you hated, as I recall. Yeah, there are times when I come here with like steel confidence, knowing that you'll like a song, and there are times when I come with very wavering trepidation about whether or not a song will land with you or won't. I knew you were going to like this song. I knew it had just enough of all the shit you loved that this was going to ring true with you. And I'm really, really glad it did. It's a fucking awesome song. And everything you said about just sort of the international politics that go into everything, apparently, even trying to do a silly little YouTube channel where you're sharing music, I totally agree with. I totally agree with the idea that the people of a country do not represent the state of a country and who's in power. And I was heartened by the idea that these fellows from Russia could listen to Western music, appreciate it and love it, and devote themselves to recreating it to the best of their ability and doing just that. It's a wonderful song, and I had an inkling it was going to make your cut, and I'm glad that it did. All that out of the way, I'm going to
Can
jump.
I just add?
Yeah,
Just add to this. From another YouTube channel that I've been watching recently, there was someone who gave a recommendation of post-punk albums, both from that time and also contemporary. And I listened to a bunch of them, and some of them are decent, some of them were, but not a single one was a patch on this. So it just goes to show you how good this is.
yeah, exactly. All right, so moving on to number 2 on my end. Pianos Become the Teeth and Genevieve. This was a lot of fun giving you the song. Also, I really wanted to shine some light on my hometown and these local heroes here from Baltimore. But this is a band that like I've always wanted to love, and they sort of evolved throughout their time together to the point where like finally after a few albums or a couple albums, they sort of reined in the hardcore sound that they had initially started with as youngsters, and kind of started stepping into this post-hardcore era. And in that, I think that in that genre, I think are some great bands and some great tunes. And I think this is one of my favorites. And there's something poetic about it, and there's something beautiful about the guitars. And I think that there's just enough of nods to predecessors in rock music, that predecessors that I know you would have been keen on and pointed out when you listened to this. So when I gave it to you and you did exactly that, I was absolutely pleased, because it was great to hear you listen to this song you've never heard of from a band you'd never heard of, and then start drawing like correlatives to a time, a genre, and even, as much as I hate to admit it, an artist in Morrissey, that you were just like, oh my God, this reminds me of like 1986, UK music. And the way he's delivering this reminds me so much of Morrissey. And this has post-punk written all over it. And I just loved watching you grapple with it at first, and then by the end of it, like fully love the song and the movements that it went through. And it was just I think my favorite part about it was something that I've always adored about the song, which is this really fast drum beat to start things off. But when the beat comes down, there's this delicate guitar that's left to breathe a little bit. So you have these fast drums juxtaposed with these well-timed but far more open, spacious, and not as compact or compounded and condensed guitars. And you were saying, for a moment you grappled with that. You're like, these drums don't sound right with this guitar. And then by maybe a minute into it, you're like, wait a minute, no, this actually does really work. These drums are oddly complementary. It's just this style isn't used often, where you have this up-tempo drum beat and more of this melodic, chill guitar to complement it. And it was fun to watch you go through those motions. And I don't know, I just think it's a really beautiful, tragic song. And that is another reason why I wanted to offer it up to you, because I mean we both love some sad boy genre music as we've offered it up. I mean, as you've said before, your island is known for putting out some of that stuff. And for whatever reason, I kind of gravitate toward that as well. Probably why I liked a lot of that 90s emo shit. That I know you love to make fun of me for liking. So this was a great tune and a great reaction by you, and I'm really glad that you gave it a shot. Let's take a look at John going through the motions with Pianos Become the Teeth.
Now how far are we along?
Nice sort of quite urgent beat there. The vocals sound classic, sort of, dare I say, British, 80s indie, and more than a hint of Morrissey's influence there. Just in the way he's singing and the way he's delivering it. Sounds really nice. Guitars sound really lovely as well, actually. This is pleasant.
And was there something you were gonna say?
Yeah, the guitars are really lovely, and they're doing all sort of things in both ears. It's really, really nice. I like his vocals. It's weird because the drumming at first sounds really out of place compared to the musicality, the rest of it. But the more you listen to it, it kind of starts to fit in and just thrust it forward. It gives it a different edge. I really like that transition, that way it just started almost screaming. And there's a guitar doing some weird shit as well in the background. That's really nice. That was also the intro to the next track, which I'd like to hear as well now, actually. Yeah, that was really enjoyable, and it's kind of a proper trip, you know, going through the whole song.
So yeah, there you have it, John. You sort of it grew on you as you went through, and I'm glad that you got to experience that, man. I love this tune.
This was another one from Andy's sack of bands with terrible names.
I love this. Pianos Become the Teeth is great. I love that name, but to each their own.
It's terrible. Never catch on. Yeah. I remember this sounded so British. I mean, it starts with the sort of post-punky vibe going into a bit of Smiths, and then morphing into a bit of Radiohead almost, or something around that vicinity. And then this sort of swirling guitar cyclone climax, which reminded me of that sort of almost gothic rock stroke indie stuff. Someone like The Mission or something like that would do with his sort of dramatic guitars that all sort of crescendoed and everything. Again, late 80s. So yeah, it was a really good tune, and again, it was a bit of a trip listening to the whole thing and sort of putting it together, as it were, into one cohesive experience. But it worked at the end. So yeah, this was a really good song. Still a terrible name.
Well, that out of the way, let's get into our number ones.
So my number one pick of songs you have submitted, probably no surprise to you, mentioned it already, Oh Brother and
that sort of explosion there, and the sort of sounds they're getting out of their guitars are awesome, and the drummer as well. That double beat from the bass drum. Again, it's this sort of heartbeaty pounding. It adds apprehension to the song, and the bass sounds great as well, really powerful and commanding. This is really good.
You quiet little animal. Change your mind. I need a tone.
So this band. I have said before, they look like a bunch of musos, desperately serious, and they kind of take. And this is what I got in my head. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. It's true to me. They kind of take almost a Radiohead approach to their brand of music, this slightly heavier rock, which isn't particularly my thing.
Mhm.
However, what they come up with is so interesting and intriguing. So there are a number of bands which miscalculate the relationship between emotion and noise and or volume. And I just think, did they learn nothing from the hair metal period? Or the new metal period? Jesus, even worse for me. Yeah. I'd take David Lee Roth over Blink 182 any bloody day. But this thought have a complete understanding of atmosphere and how to build it, light and shade, which makes all of their songs so far so intriguing.
Mm.
And this song and the performance are full of drama, passion, and technical excellence. I love the singer's voice, and at times it's not even the sound, but just the way, almost like the tilt of the head or something. I could almost picture Tom York for about a second and a half, and it's gone fleetingly, but it's kind of there in spirit. I love the sort of this song, the sort of Ry Cooder stroke Peter Green guitar touches and the irrepressible drumming as well. It's truly a song to listen to by firelight. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it drew me in completely. I have downloaded the album Endless Light, and I think I have shown enormous restraint in not getting any of their other stuff.
Mm.
So there you go. Hurry up, is what I say.
I'll bring some more to
it.
the table in the future for sure. Yeah, man. I'm glad you. I remember this wasn't even the first song by them that I gave you. I believe it was the second.
Yes.
And I think Ascension was the first number that I gave, and I thought that that was going to be the one that you loved the most. And you turned that supposition on its head when you came back from having listened to Burn and spoke so effusively of it, and the descriptors that you used to underscore like sort of the like what you saw when you listen to music. And I think I spoke about this in our video about the songs that you offered to me, is like when a song can make you start to see visuals, it's a fucking great song, man.
Yeah.
So I knew that this was hitting with, I knew that this had hit with you in the same sort of way some of yours have hit with me. And you're right. He's got it. His voice is very interesting. It's not always pitch perfect, but there's something about the emotion and the anguish or frustration therein that makes what he says so goddamn intriguing. And when you have three guitarists that are all so cut from the same cloth, it seems that they know what each other are going to do in any given part of a song, which allows the other to do his own thing and for all of it to sound good together. and you have a rhythm section as like driving and doomy and gloomy as those two, the bass player and the drummer, and how it works so well together. Because it's always pounding. It's always the monster in the horror movie that's chasing you down. It's always that kind of plotting, eminent sound about it that makes it so goddamn captivating. Yeah, man, I'm just really, really glad you liked this one, because I love this song. I love this band. I love that so many of their songs are live performances that are free to share and use on YouTube, because it gives me these great iterations of these tunes to offer up to you that you then go off and gonif down and enjoy. So it's a perfect scenario. And I'm really, really stoked you like them as much as you do, and I look forward to checking them out further on the channel. And then that brings me to my final entry, and that is a song, "Healing Hands" by Citizen Cope. And this was John, you've underscored this before. I think it's just obvious to the world at large in general when you're talking about our cultures that your people are far more reserved, far more it seems to me that the British are, it's harder to rile you up or get you passionate about things. And Americans will fall over ourselves to tell you how much we love or dislike something. So to get a reaction out of you that is as close to, and I use this term loosely, childlike or like youthful, because the exuberance of it all, that's hard for me to get out of you. Probably anyone. So when you listen to this song and like your reaction was almost playful to what you liked about it, I was like, holy shit, like look at what we're witnessing here with John. It was charming to watch this song slowly grow on you, from you realizing that it wasn't, as you put it in the reaction, a man and his truth, to a song that had all of these other movements and mechanisms going on and nods to genres that we both really like. It was so much fun to watch. I like editing this thing was a goddamn treat. In fact, I think I specifically remember editing the intro and all of the post-listen material first, just so I could save the last bit for last, as if it were some sort of delicious dish. And I went back and I did your reaction as the last bit that I edited before I put it all together. And it was just awesome. So let's take a look at John checking out Healing Hands by Citizen Cope.
What's a pocket full of gold without a woman that you could hold? Gotta afford to be a backburner no more.
I'll try not to keep stopping. There's loads of really interesting stuff going on. I really like the beats. Is it doing rim shots? But it's some of it's syncopated, so it's the odd offbeat as well. It's really interesting. Piano sounds great. The bass is doing some really interesting stuff. This sounds really good so far. I have full of interest.
I will never forget your healing hands, my love. You gave me daylight. You gave me sunlight.
That chorus there with the keys came in as well as piano, giving it that sort of reggae feel to it. Really interesting and very, very catchy. Loved it. This is really interesting. So it goes into this sort of interlude type thing, and then the bass really comes in like a reggae bass, and you're almost getting a sense of dub. And then this thing comes in, and I'm sure it's a guitar, but it's doing it like you would expect a trombone or a trumpet solo. This is great. This town coming like a ghost town.
So yeah, it's those reactions to all the parts and the song as it grew. I think at one point you may have even apologized for the amount of pausing you were doing, which for me, I love that because I've already heard the song before. I don't know about how other people ingest reaction stuff, but and to each their own. I'm not ridiculing anybody, but like for me, I don't mind the pauses because like I can go off and listen to this shit whenever. It's more of the person's first listen experience that is integral to the whole operation than it is just hearing the song by itself without pausing. So I liked hearing you stop and inject your opinion on things and your delight about others, and then what this song was reminding you of, and the genres that you felt like it was pulling from, until by the end of it, you were as close to stunned as I've seen you on anything on this channel, and that was like it really made me happy to see that because it's like uh, getting exuberance from you is much like pulling teeth from an alligator. So it was great to see you kind of, let everything loose for a little bit, or as much as you can, John. So it was awesome. I'm really glad you gave this one a listen to that and you liked it as much as you did.
Yeah, I did. I remember this track. I loved it actually, and it was on my long list. And on another day, it would have been in the top 3. But not
Yeah,
this
no, but believe me, man. I was in the same boat when I was having to do the treatment to yours. I was like, this isn't fair.
yes, I remember. The overall impression from this was that I thought this was really exciting that someone had put so much thought into this and tapped into, seams of gold from various different sources to produce something which um, really was quite unique, I think, in its approach. Obviously, the key thing, the reggae sort of fusion to it, was just awesome. Um, but yeah, and I absolutely adored the organ, but there's so many other elements to it. And as I say, it start off with this sort of almost guy sitting on a stool with his acoustic, gonna tell you what's wrong with the world type song, and then it fused into this whole other creation, and that was great to witness. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah, Citizen Cope is an awesome artist. Spent a lot of his formative time here in the area we call the DMV, the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area here in the Mid Atlantic, and I've been going to his shows since I was like in college, or maybe even senior in high school. And I've seen him several times at places like Rams Head Live and in Annapolis and areas around here, and it's odd, he's gotten commercial success in that he's like his songs have featured in commercials and television shows and movies, but he's not in the forefront of like American contemporary music lexicon or anything like that. So um part of me's happy for that because like who likes to be the fan of the band that everybody likes, you know what I mean? And I kind of like that and part of that's him. He's stuck to his sound. This isn't top 40 stuff that you're going to hear out of him, but it's matured and fully formed. And I think like people with a decent musical ear are going to listen to the song and artists like him and be like, yep, that's good stuff. There's no two ways about it. So I'm really, really glad you liked it. I'm glad that you enjoyed the way he tinkered with sound, like horn arrangements and reggae sounds and that bass, that fat, chunky reggae bass in it to the beginning. That even if it stayed, that would have been good for what that is, a man in his truth, a man in his guitar on a stool. If that's all it was, it would have been good there. But he took it and went, and it was really cool. And I'm glad that you got to witness it and you had the same experience I did when I listened to it years ago. So
Yeah. What you're hearing there is talent.
yeah, that's an excellent way of summing it up in a much more concise way than I ever could. So I think we both know that. So thanks so much, John. I appreciate you. And I'm sorry if I made you spit on your keyboard. But why don't you go ahead and wrap this thing up, man?
Not for the first time. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Yeah. So we'll say, so wrapping up all 3 episodes, it's been a real delight this last year, almost year, as we keep saying. We've listened to a hell of a lot of music, different genres, and we'll keep trying to explore those and go to other Just like Kirk, go, Captain Kirk, go and visit new worlds, new planets, and get off with the women there. So, that's something to aim for 2024. Especially the green ones. And
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, no, we've had a real fun and some real, great sort of old friends and some classics and some fantastic new friends as well, both musically and in the people who've reacted on this channel.
Yeah.
One of the highlights of my day is seeing one of our episodes drop and then seeing the comments come in and people with their own insight, their own take on things, and maybe a song, what it meant to them, and they used to go and see the band, or their favorite gig was this, that, and the other, or they listened to it when they were at college, or whatever. All of that is good stuff, and that's what it's all about, connecting. And so we're very lucky to be able to do that. So I shall wrap up the. I don't know if this is going to be the last episode of the year. We might put some other shite on, but in essence, it is a closer to the year. So thanks to all of you guys out there, and thanks to my partner in crime, Andy, as well.
Thank
It's been a
everybody.
ball. And we'll see all of you next time, perhaps in a new year, and for more hilarious antics and musical mischief on the next episode of the Audiophiles. See you.
Happy New Year, guys.